Welcome back to another episode of As We Reacts. And man, yeah, my For You page has just been nuts. I'm not even gonna lie. If it ain't American Indians, then it's Native Americans making fun of American Indians because they don't know as much and they're learning more. And it's like they're mocking them. And I even got a video in here where a dude says some crazy stuff. I think I put it in my last one also, but I'm gonna make sure I put it in this one because he said some stuff like, "You guys are waking up. That's why we taking out your leaders." Like, yo, what? Like, if you're really saying that, then like you're literally acknowledging that black people are the original people of this land. Black people are the American Indians. Like, you're literally acknowledging that by saying that. Just crazy work. So let's just go ahead and get into this video.
That is the point. The United States recognizes 574 tribes, except for the American Indians freed with the 14th Amendment. In 1682, the baby follows the belly law told you that the United States enslaved two groups of people, North Africans and American Indians. That's the same two groups of people freed in 1865. So we are American Indians. We are just not tribally affiliated because they was whooping our ass and enslaving us from 1682 until 1865. So we had no ability, no chance to be tribally affiliated. They had dismantled that by enslaving us between 1682, North Africans and American Indians, until 1865 when we were freed. We are not recognized as the American Indians who were enslaved on this land before the United States even got here. 1/4 of us freed have African descent. The other 3/4 of us are American Indians not recognized by the United States and freed with the 14th Amendment.
Huge number of tribal groups, and there's no way I can do this without perhaps overgeneralizing a little bit in some of my statements. All right, here's a painting of some Indians at Mission, San Francisco, or San Jose, I think, painted in the early 1800s by one of the visitors to the missions. And here we have a situation in which the Indians were permitted to hold one of their native ceremonies, whatever it may have been, but it was done by Indians who were converts to the missions, and they were portrayed in this way. And this is clearly reflects Aboriginal body painting, feathered headdresses, and all kinds of things which were there before the Spanish missionaries got there. That is a continuation of some aspects of native religious life. Another early drawing of Northern California Indian wearing a basketry hat. It's one of the uses for basketry, which was one of the primary arts in California, throughout California in the early days, and extends back thousands of years, judging from archaeological specimens. There's some excellent baskets on display in this room, by the way, which date from the mission period and are well burden baskets. Here's a very early drawing of a woman pounding acorns. Not very flattering, but this also has gone on in brush shelters down to recent times. Very difficult to get photographs of this because the women feel that it's immodest and indecent and so forth, which it could easily be. But they hold the basket down on top of the rock with their legs so that when they're pounding the seeds or acorns with their pestle, the basket doesn't skip around and disappear off into the blue. The basket, of course, has no bottom in it. It's just a conical basket with no top and no bottom, and underneath that is the rock, sometimes a little rock indentation in which the seeds are pounded. There were a few people on through into the 50s who were still doing this and still using this native grinding technique in parts of the interior of California. Here's another one, actual photograph taken about 1880, very early photograph, Indian woman grinding seeds. If you were an Indian housewife, this is what you'd spend a large part of your time doing. Now, of course, the costume, the housing, and many other features of this photograph are not Aboriginal California, but are things that were adopted from Europeans and Americans in later times. Picture of a Pomo basket weaver. Basketry was not only a very important part of the material culture, a utility tool for Indians in California, it also was their primary art form in many parts of the state. Not in all parts of the state, but in many parts of the state. Baskets were the way in which aesthetic expression was done, and to create a beautiful work of art for many California Indians was to create an especially beautiful and finely made basket. Here's an Indian in the early days weaving a basket, one type of basket. Here's one of these burden baskets, which are used for carrying seeds.
Recently, La Presidenta de Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo, signed 2 edicts into law, which are breathtaking to say the least. What she did and what she signed into the Mexican Constitution are 2 parts. The first part was that the indigenous people within Mexico of many different tribes will now have the ability to have their own sovereign nations. Now, bear with me here. So basically, a commission is set up to recognize those indigenous nations within Mexico and teach them and show them how they can rule autonomously and set up their own rulership over their own people, because there's a lot of indigenous different tribes within Mexico. The second part of that edict that was signed into the Mexican Constitution recognizes, and hear me out here, Afro-Indigenous. So, and that basically states that written into the Mexican Constitution, it is now law that the Afro-Indigenous are recognized as full citizens of Mexico and are afforded their indigenous status. And then she went on to state that Mexico recognizes that Afro-Indigenous people were on this continent hundreds of years before the Spaniards stepped 1 foot on the soil. It completely changes the narrative of what we've been taught. It completely changes the idea that Columbus was here and there's just Mexicans. It flips it right on its head. Everything is out the door. This is a very intelligent woman. And what she has stated are what people on different social media platforms have been saying for years. Black man was already here. The black man was already here. We didn't come in slave ships. That's not feasible. It would have taken too many ships. They would lose too many people. But if you're taken from Mexico and South America and taken off the coast and sat off the coast for a couple months and then brought up and dropped off in Boston, that makes it a hell of a lot more feasible, doesn't it? Afro-Indigenous were here hundreds of years before the Spaniards showed up. I'll put this into perspective. The English Bible, the most widely sold book in history, the Bible. New Testament, Old Testament, you can go back in that Bible to the beginning of time of man. Adam, Eve, his wife, conceived from the rib of Adam, and the Creator took that rib. Their children, Cain and Abel, and how that conflict and one brother slew the other. The creation of the earth, the waters, the fish in the deep, the firmament. Okay, enough Bible lesson for today. But yet we can't go back before Columbus. What was the black man's history? How did he get here? The Phoenician? The Israelite?
Look like us is us, cause every goddamn thing that look like us is us, cause it's not. I promise you. And that was the most hurtful thing for me. Some of the ones that I love, some of the ones that I trusted, and I'm looking at their brown copper skin, knowing that they indigenous cause they got brown copper skin. They've been just as goddamn. They've been even more heinous than these other motherfuckers that's coming here from other fucking places. You see, when you see that people are divided, that gives them a damn advantage. So some of our own motherfucking people, we're going to end up having to take their goddamn heads off. We're going to end up having to take their motherfucking heads off to be in peace and harmony on this motherfucking planet, y'all. So, just keep everything clean. Keep your heart light as a feather, keep clean. Don't worry about a motherfucking thing, because we coming, baby, we coming. I'm telling you, we coming. We the gods and goddess of this planet.
Everybody, just I want you to pair up on this slide. And who's Native American? Just pair up with someone sitting next to you. It's not a trick question, by the way. Only one. What'd you say?
I said B.
B? You said B? What'd you say? C? Yeah? Did you say B? C? You said C? Damn, dude.
I can't really see A that well, but I guess from the other ones I'd say B.
You'd say B? Okay, well the answer is A, by the way. The others. Did anybody say A? All right, good. So the others are Siberian, so we're going to come to this. All right, let's do the next one. Which one's of Native American ancestry and which one is of Han Chinese ancestry? And the Han ethnic group is the dominant ethnic group in China.
I'm going to say that the one on the right is the Han Chinese ancestry, but I'm not too sure.
The one on the right is Han? What do you say, bro? What did you come to?
Left Native American.
Left Native American?
Right.
Is that what you say? The right is Chinese? Yeah? What's that? The top one is Native American? Okay, so listen. Yeah, it's a real subtle difference, right? Is that what you said?
The top one is Chinese.
Top one is Chinese?
Yeah.
Dude, killing it. All right, but you're wrong. The top one is Native American. So, all right, go to the next slide. Okay. Asian or European? European or American, bro?
European.
European?
Yeah.
Dude, European or American?
American?
European?
Asian?
I mean, European or Asian?
Asian.
Yeah? Dude, what do you got? Come on, man. The two of you gotta have it now. What do you say?
I think he's Asian.
You think he's Asian?
I have no idea.
Yeah? Bro.
I think he's European.
Think he's European? Bro, how about you?
It's definitely European.
Yeah? All right, so here's the deal. You ready? Can you go back to the map? Let me show you something. So, no, the map, the one I think is like slide three or something maybe? Yeah, slide 3. Yeah, okay, so here. Check this out. So here's the map of human migration patterns. So notice how coming out of Asia here and out of China, northern China, so Mongolia up around here, so people migrate this way, okay? We're getting new evidence, by the way, of the migration pattern that people actually came across the channels. It's quite fascinating. Stuff is changing a lot, but here's the idea. Genes come this way. Well, how do genes change? The people that stop here and the people that go here, they're the same. They're not any different genetically speaking. As you start to come down this way, you start to see very different things. But indigenous peoples of the Americas, right, look a lot like people in this area of the world. But notice, right, how it comes this way. But so Siberian, and 3 of those slides are from, those photos are people right here, and one is people right here. So one is American, got it? One is Asian / but it's really kind of European because they're Russian, because Mongolia and Siberia is part of Russia, and they're really Siberian, and Russia is a European country, and so you could argue that all those folks are European because they're Russian, got it? You see how, like, the complexity of this? But what are they really? And how are they any different? Their DNA is exactly the same. And then we come down here and we have this Native American woman here from this area who looks a lot like somebody from over here, but you can really tell the difference because the genes just followed. So I remember I spent a lot of time, I lived in Ecuador for quite a while, I was doing my doctoral research there, and I would spend time in the mountains. I studied this one particular region as a province called Aswai in the south central part of Ecuador, and I was going into communities where they had never seen white people in some of the communities. They were indigenous communities, and it was like, except priests who were of European ancestry, but they never had visitors, right? And this is actually a true story. So I spent a lot of time with priests and nuns, and a whole bunch, learned a lot about the Catholic Church. A lot of times Catholics don't want to know a lot of things that you learn from the inside, but it's all good. And I would go into these communities. Now the priests, Catholicism had sort of conquered them, right? And imposed Christianity on them, the indigenous peoples. And they would show all the images of Jesus. And the images of Jesus are of a white guy with long hair and a beard. And I had long hair and I had a beard at the time. And so I imagine the priests for generations and generations have been saying, Jesucristo está viniendo otra vez. So Jesus is coming again. Jesus is coming. He's coming. He's coming. And in comes this guy on a horseback with the priest with long brown hair and a beard. And people going up to the priest and saying, Padrecito, está él? It's él. It's him. Is that him? Is that Jesus? Like, it's really quite a power trip on my part to have people coming down and bowing at my feet and so on. But that's neither here nor there. But I would be in communities sometimes where I really thought I was in Central Asia, like in the middle of China, because the features, maybe sitting in candlelight or something, and the features of people were exactly the same. I really didn't know. I thought I had been transported. Anyway, the other guy is from Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan is right here. The guy, is he Asian or is he European? And he is Kazakh. So if you know, is anybody Kazakh in here by chance? Anybody? A couple semesters ago, I had someone who was Kazakh. So he is both European and Asian in a way, but he's really European. Kazakhstan is considered to be a European country, so he's European, but he looks Asian.
Dear Native Americans, I mean this with love and respect. History tells us that you are a peaceful, loving, welcoming people. This is why Columbus, or the Spaniard conquistadors, or more specifically the Europeans, came over here and were able to capture this land. They took advantage of how welcoming you were. Us here in the American Indian community have been telling everyone that we have heritage here in the Americas.
Man, the truth is the truth. You are not Native American Indian at all. Stop trying to claim our stuff,
And
please.
you guys have done nothing but harass us and call us names and promote propaganda.
I'm sorry.
No, you straight. You straight.
So you want to learn how to correct your status, and all these other content creators are bull jiving around the topic, trying to charge you as much as they can without giving you any real information. Oh, and by the way, they're going to get you locked up. Hallelujah, we are living in biblical times. Guys, I'm about to break down one of the most powerful biblical scriptures of all time, and you've probably never even heard of it. Welcome to the cookout. In chapter 25 of the book of Enoch, we just found out that we're the aboriginals of this land, and we need to get our land back. Can you stand up for the American Indians?
Riddle me this. Why did they have an Aboriginal Negro write the almanac? Why did they have an NA or a Mexican do it? Why is a Negro writing about America? How things grow here, the stars, the way things work here. Why not the other people? Why do they have one of us writing about America? Because this is our land, and we know this land better than anyone else. That's why we wrote it.
You know what, brother? If you were to walk into any mosque in America and you just laid your hands on the first person or the third person or the fifth person that you see, you realize that you're laying your hands on a Native American? I believe there were only 8% of the slaves that came to America. So how is it that there are so many more people that they claim are black or African American? I think they got the numbers wrong, because a lot of Native Americans are the ones that they're counting as black folks too.
Native Americans are descended from the lost Siberian people. In 2019, scientists found tiny milk teeth in Siberia. These teeth are 31,600 years old. They are the oldest human DNA ever uncovered in Siberia. The teeth belong to two boys. They were part of a group called the ancient North Siberians. This group descended from early humans who migrated from Africa. They lived in Siberia during the last ice age. They hunted mammoths and big game animals. This population left no living descendants, but their DNA lived on in another group, the ancient Paleo-Siberians. This group is the direct ancestor of Native Americans. 2/3 of Native American ancestry can be traced back to them. Around 24,000 years ago, the ancient Paleo-Siberians split into two branches. One branch continued living in Siberia. Another branch migrated to North America. The story got more confusing. After that, the Native American ancestors encountered another population. This other group had genetic ties to Europe. They interbred. All modern Native Americans trace their ancestry to these two sources. The location where natives emerged is unclear. During the Ice Age, Siberians may have taken refuge somewhere else. Perhaps they came from a refuge on the Bering Land Bridge. That land bridge once connected Siberia and Alaska. The bridge flooded as the Ice Age came to an end, yet people continued crossing between the two continents. Tracing these migrations puzzles scientists. It also fuels debates about the origins of Native Americans. Genetic data found evidence of a second Paleo-Siberian wave. They reached Alaska between 9,000 and 6,000 years ago. They mixed with native peoples already present. Some natives today have this extra ancestry.
Where were you when I was a kid, figuring out that 300 million of my ancestors are buried in America? Where were you guys asking those same questions when I was a kid dealing with learning about the traumatic events of my familial history and what I'm proud to come from and why I'm proud to stand here and why when I repeat myself that I'm not going to stand down, it has nothing to do with dismissing any other race or group of people. I'm just proud of my heritage and what we've been through. And the fact that this has pinned me against the Jewish community. And I'm here answering questions of whether or not I'm sorry or not on something I didn't create. And it was something I shared. And I'm telling everybody I'm taking responsibility. Then that's where I sit. So.
These are invaders. These invaders right here. Get your little ass out of here. Who you think we're here first? They popped up. 5'1". Look at the 5'1". Look at the 5'1". Get them out of here. We taught y'all knowledge. You didn't teach us nothing. Look at this. Come here, boy. Get your ass out of here. You tripping. What you doing over here? Roll the corn. Roll the corn. Roll the corn. Then we get down to the great mother. The Mississippian great mother.
You're starting to realize that you're the original Americans and we can't be having that. That's why we put a lot of y'all leaders in jail and stuff for SEXUAL, ABUSCE of MINORS. Catch them, we plant fake evidence on them. A lot of y'all leaders that first started out in the 2019s and 2020s and 21s are now sitting in federal and state penitentiary.
Now, why would he say that? Shout out my man Gaddy and Earth Speaks. Y'all tap in with the fellas if y'all like that real.
You see what I'm saying? I made sure I put that one like closer to last just so you guys could see what I was talking about. That's crazy work. He said that with his full chest on a live. Like, yo, that is crazy. Bruh. Nasty. I don't want nothing to do with that. That's straight nasty work right there. Like, bruh, come on. Like, for real? And are y'all really just doing this because y'all don't want to share in the money and shit like that? Like, we just want to know where we come from. And we want our fucking land back. And the money that we're owed. Sorry. But I'm going to keep it a buck. I'm going to keep it a whole being with y'all. Like, if y'all fuck this over like this, yeah, no. You got to pay up. Pay up, because that's nasty work and the gaslight was real. So, yeah. crazy. I can't believe he even said that. Like, I'm sure the tribe, he's probably one of the ones who got disenrolled. They probably kicked his ass out after that. Like, you really went on live and said that? Like, bruh, that is nasty work. But anyway, I'm your boy Azrael. This has been another episode of Azrael Reacts, and I'll catch you guys next time. Deuces!